Hello everyone, my name is Xavier Morales, and the topic that I chose was LGBTQ homeless youth. The reason why I chose LGBTQ homeless youth was, to me, it's something that I did not know a lot about. So I took this as a chance to learn more about something new, because prior to this, I didn't know much about it. Also, I knew that a topic like this would be easy for me to find a lot of information on online, because a lot of people are talking about it right now, and they're talking about LGBTQ movements. So I just knew it'd be a good topic for me to find information on. So a little bit about the problem is that there's just in general too many homeless LGBTQ youth in America. I mean, originally I figured that there was a good amount of them. But once I actually dove into my research and started looking at the articles and the numbers, it turns out that they make up for about 20 to 40% of all the homeless youth in America. It's close to 50%. That's a large amount. Another part of the problem is that currently they suffer at a higher amount or a higher rate than youth that are homeless but not LGBTQ. So yeah, studies showing that they endure more physical, mental, and drug abuse than your average homeless teen. This is also including sexual abuse. And so currently there's just not enough help out there for them. That's mostly because not many people and organizations are properly trained to fill the needs of these youth, because their needs are actually a little different than the needs of just, a homeless youth that isn't LGBTQ. They have specific things going on. So what should be done about it? Because obviously, with all that's going on, all their suffering they're going through, it's too much for everyone to just sit back and not do anything. So an action that I thought would be good would be to create safe zones, or we could call LGBTQ specifically designed shelters. And by specifically designed shelters, I mean, first of all, they're going to be LGBTQ exclusive. And the reason why they're going to be exclusive is because studies have shown that sometimes when LGBTQ youth are mixed with shelters with people that aren't LGBTQ and that are probably against it, or just they don't feel comfortable sharing a living or sleeping space with them, they tend to go through abuse within a shelter, which isn't good, because the shelter is supposed to be like, they finally got somewhere that they're going to be safe, and it's not happening. They're getting abused inside the shelter again because of their sexual identity and who they are. So a little bit more about the solution. Why I believe it's going to be effective is because also the employees that would be hired there would be youth or young adults, or mainly in that age group. And that's because studies have shown that these LGBTQ youth, they feel more comfortable working with youth, or something like more peer-to-peer compared to adults, because they report that they feel like a lot of adults just, they either don't understand them, or they tend to judge them negatively for who they are. So by hiring youth that are, they're trained specifically to work with these LGBTQ homeless youth, then once we get these youth into a shelter, they're going to be treated fairly, and they're going to feel accepted compared to how they don't feel this way at some other shelters, again, because the adults there tend to make them feel like they're judged. Even if they aren't, they just don't know how to convey correctly to them. Also, the local police would be involved in collaborating with these safe zones or shelters, so that way they're better prepared to help LGBTQ youth in the streets, and then they can guide them to the shelter. Because right now, again, based on surveys and researches, a lot of LGBTQ youth say that they don't feel comfortable reaching out to the police for help, or even safe, because it's kind of the same thing with the adults. They just feel like they're judging them, or they don't understand them, and this causes them to be kind of wary when reaching out for help, which makes it harder for them to get into shelters, so they stay on the streets longer because of this. So by getting the police on board with this kind of program and having them work hand in hand with these shelters, it's going to improve that that interaction between them and these youth. So during my research, I came across a few other solutions that people or organizations that tried that kind of caught my eye. One of them was they started asking the homeless youth about their preferred pronouns and their sexual orientation. This did a good job for most of the youth that were served about it. Did a good job at making them feel like this shelter actually cared about their sexual identity and that they weren't just another face in the crowd. It helped them feel more accepted. So in that aspect, it was successful. Another one of these solutions that kind of caught my eye was another group suggested training police, like the local police, so that they're better prepared to meet the needs of LGBTQ youth in the streets. This caught my eye because I felt like it was a good idea because it's going to improve that interaction with these youth in the streets, like I was talking about earlier, which is going to plays a big role in making them feel safer. Like if the youth aren't feeling safe reaching out to police for help, who are they going to reach out to? So that's why this caught my eye. But the problem with these solutions is that they're only working to solve one aspect of the problem and not the whole thing. For example, the first solution we talked about, which talked about the pronouns and asking about their sexual identity, it's great and it helps them, feel safer and more understood once they're in the shelter. But while they're on the streets, that's not doing anything. It's not going to help them get from the streets to the shelter. It's not going to help them work better with police to get help. And on the other hand, with the police, the solution that talked about training the police, it's great for like I said before, for improving the interaction on the streets and getting these youth into a shelter. But once they get to the shelter, if the shelter isn't LGBTQ friendly, you could say, and they aren't working to make these youth feel welcome, then that's not helping them. So that's why each of the solutions only solve one aspect. Either they help them on the streets or they help them in the shelter, but they're not helping their entire situation. So I believe that my solution is more effective because it's working to improve their situation in both of the scenarios, whether they're on the street or they are they got to the shelter already. Because the local police would be working with the shelter, not only they're going to have that training to have improved interactions with these youth on the street and make them feel safe and comfortable reaching out for them to help, they're also going to be able to guide them to these safe zones or shelters that are specifically designed for these LGBTQ youth. So in this case, that way, both their situations are improved, the street and in shelter. It's not just solving one side of the problem. It's looking at the whole thing. And all it really takes for this to happen is to get the government and the communities to work hand in hand. Like governments, the government can fund this kind of project easily as long as the community as a whole can get them to do it. And once it's funded, they can get the community to work with as part of the shelters and help build that community. And that's my presentation. Thank you.